All right. Good evening, everybody. I was teaching today. So that meant an early day at work, but also an early, sort of an early exit, early leaving. I'm not quite sure what the proper term is, but I got a chance to sort of get a bunch of stuff done. Didn't do as much reading actually as I wanted, but other than that, things sort of turned out unexpectedly well today. So I hope you're all doing well. I will take a minute just to load stuff up before I jump in. Excuse me. Um, I neglected, so I haven't really announced anything one way or the other. But I did want to um, I did want to communicate a little something about the plans for the week. I realized last week I didn't do Cultist Simulator. That's pretty standard for the third Wednesday of every month, because that is when a local game dev collective does their meetup. It's called Dirty Rectangles. It's really neat. There's actually a new group now in Toronto. There's a person who I met in Ottawa named Kezia. I only really got a chance to talk to them a couple of times. One was at a birthday party, and then another was when they were just when they were on their way to Toronto. But another great example of a game developer who I probably would not have heard of had I not been in sort of geographic proximity. But I believe they, along with a couple of other people, sort of founded a Toronto chapter of it. So it's growing. That's good. I definitely got a chance to meet a lot of interesting people and see their work as a result. So that's why it wasn't on last week. Now, normally this week would be back. However, one of my old professors is coming into town. So he is sort of responsible for an organization known as PMAC. It's where a lot of sort of research and a lot of guidance happens with regards to sort of the measurement of prices and sort of the price index theory and whatnot. So Erwin's a prof who I had. He gave me a very nice recommendation for the job that I'm at, where my skills proceeded to be completely wasted. But he's definitely somebody who I don't get to talk to very often. But there is this nice feature of the fact that he's always in town once a year for PMAC at least, and so I'm gonna be taking that Wednesday to myself to go and meet him again. I suppose if there's enough time, I'll try and do a stream, but it's pretty unlikely, I would say. So I'm just going to say that Wednesday is going to be a day to myself. I realize that is 2 Wednesdays in a row where I've not streamed Cultist Simulator or done any cast at all. But I do. The thing is that this would need to actually become a job for me to start turning down opportunities like that. I don't mind missing out on parties. I don't mind missing out on sort of like, social events where it's sort of a group of people that I know and can meet on a regular basis for the purposes of talking with, a prof who I have a great respect for and I am looking forward to catching up with. It's really hard for me to justify doing another broadcast. So I'm sorry for that, but we'll be back on track the week following. That would be my expectation unless something else pops up. As far as the other details are concerned, I'm not sure what we're doing Friday. I am somewhat inclined to do Darkest Dungeon because it was such a disaster last Friday. I realize I haven't uploaded any of last week's VODs, but we'll get on top of that. Daggerfall tomorrow. The episode was really tough to record. I definitely had to confront a lot of features about the game which I did not particularly enjoy. But there is a lot that happens in it, so if you like that sort of thing, be warned. It's not me at my best, but it is a it's more of the same if you like that sort of thing, with maybe a little bit more of me talking about why I'm not having the best of times inside of it. Okay, let's just put a proper name on it. I complain a lot during it, but we do make progress in the game. So, with all of that in mind, let's focus on the game that's in front of us tonight, and that is Stellaris. So, as usual, we'll do a quick review of the position. I don't have as much sort of studying to do. I have roughly an idea of where we left it last time, but it doesn't hurt. I have been neglecting the domestic front, so I think a nice little, lead in. I'll talk about why I'm making the decisions that I am, but a nice little account of the domestic front, followed by some plans in terms of how I'm going to set up the industry. Is probably a decent way to give people some run rate, because I'm sure not a lot of people are used to. I mean, it used to be I was a lot better at being really disciplined at a sharp 7 start, and as life kind of ground me down, I started to get a little bit more flexibility in those starts. But I would actually prefer to be back to doing that stuff when I need to. Okay. So, I'm actually going to do all of my planets. I realize there's a lot of them, and at some point I really do need to start getting some proper governors down. But let's actually deal with it the way I normally do. So we've got Ascension perks. I believe the plan that I had, I should maybe start, let me just grab my pen. So I believe I was leaving at least one open for, endgame events. I don't believe it's possible for there to be more than one endgame event that triggers, but I may be wrong on that. So with that in mind, we've got Galactic Contender, and then I think there's Defender of the Galaxy. Yeah. Man, transforming worlds into Gaia planets sounds so cool. So I think I've kind of eliminated enigmatic engineering and nihilistic acquisition. We may do the Colossus project. One appeal of the Colossus project is that it gets past this whole make claims and try and nibble off parts of the coalition. It will be border gore for days when that fight finally starts. But I mean, let's just face it, the Colossus is just fun. There is so World Shaper, Gaia World's not necessarily too bad. Galactic Force Projection would be if I want to build up my navy. Defender of the Galaxy would certainly be, get stronger against the end game events. We're still a way away from that. There's no point for Interstellar Dominion at this point. I don't need the I don't need the reduction in terms of influence costs and whatnot. Starbase capacity. So short term, not a terrible. Okay, actually, short term, I don't really gain the benefits from it. But it would definitely allow me to do things like more anchorages and more defensive points. So I may consider that. Eternal Vigilance is something I'm seriously considering, because one of the things that I'm going to be doing if I go up against the Coalition is I'm going to be focusing my extremely strong fleet onto... I want to put maximum pressure on the areas where I can sort of do the most damage. So I want to find the strongest opponents, and I want to hit them where they can produce replacement ships. That's really the way that I'm going to defang the Coalition, because there doesn't seem to be a way to sort of put in CBs that allow you to kick people out of federations and whatnot. So with that in mind, I do need to make sure that there's a credible defense for the areas that I'll be neglecting through that. And Eternal Vigilance actually sort of helps me with a big gap there. First of all, the starbase damage and hull point go up by 25%, as well as the defensive platforms, and I get 5 additional defensive platforms, which means I can put ion cannons along with a bunch of extra defense, with a bunch of defensive platforms on citadels on my borders. And while they're not, they're not immortal, it's a very costly effort to try and break them. And the nice thing about that is they would be telegraphing their attempt pretty far in advance, so I would potentially be able to bring some fleets to help out. Galactic Contender, so this would probably be good if I felt that the War in Heaven was going to be coming up. So bonuses to 33% bonus against Fallen Empires. If I do that now, I'm probably just going to bring about the endgame event, and I can't really afford to do that. I don't use edicts enough to justify executive vigor. Transcendent learning, I mean, it's not bad for higher level caps and whatnot, but it's not, when I sort of think about what the final 3 are going to be, definitely synthetic evolution. I do need synthetic personality matrix. Hey, Talwyn Greenwood, great to see you. Yeah, so synthetic evolution, so we'll have 2 left after that. We'll have 1 for the endgame event, which means I kind of have 1 free one. Voidborn maybe, Galactic Wonders maybe, Arcology Project maybe. I haven't really decided yet, and so I think I'm gonna sit idle, at least for the next little while. So, key one for me is just to take a look at available jobs and whatnot. So lots of slack on Rurius. Looks like Ushminaria is on its way to having some troubles. Now we've maxed out the industrial capacity. On this one here, I'm getting, it seems like I'm a little flush with exotic gases, but that's actually going to wrap up pretty quickly. So what I'm going to do here instead is I'm going to upgrade the alloy, or hang on, is this just a basic alloy foundry? Okay. I'm slightly tempted to actually convert one of these into a civilian replicator, but I'm not. I'm going to upgrade the foundry. And I believe strongholds, yes, strongholds take moats, so I have a bit of a surplus of moats. Paradia, we've got more jobs than what we know to do with. Now, one of the problems about this is it's because I filled them up with food and whatnot, but that's fine. Afris Prime, so again, I want to follow the colony in a box model. We have no shortage of work for these folks, but, excuse me, in this particular case, a science building is what I want. Again, colony in a box model says we get the 2 unity buildings, alloys, research, civilian, and then whatever the specialization of the world is going to be. Zipir 3A, I can do an upgrade to the unity building, but I'll leave it otherwise, and this colony is okay. Kabji looks like it's already on its way to building city districts and whatnot, so we'll be covered for the next 5 people. Okul now has unemployment, so what's the deal here? Okay, so unemployed, lower level worker. So there's going to be 2 things that are happening here. Number 1, oh, I get it now. So it's because yeah. So in this case, I do need to build a, I need to build a new housing district anyway. We can afford to upgrade the strongholds, and at just want to double check where we are. Okay, so it looks like we're capped out on researchers, so I do want to start upgrading this stuff. So I should be down to 4 exotic gases. Okay, we've got 2 jobs left here, but that will bring them to the final slot. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. Mublar, same story. We'll get to a new slot before any of that. I think it's more or less the same story. Oh no, this one needs 2 more jobs. I am going to be rather science-focused on this world, so I think we'll build another city just in anticipation, and we're 1 job away from... Why don't you like... Okay, planetary capital. Same job. So whenever I see kind of a surplus of 6 or something like that, I'm usually just going to leave the planet alone unless I see like a major opportunity. Here I need to improve 1 more job. We have 4 housing available right now, so we'll just knock out another one of those real quick. So here 9 jobs, probably because of the excuse me, generator districts. And on the colony, I'm always very happy to provide another monument. Okay, mining world. 4 jobs, that'll unlock a new slot, so I'm not too worried about that. If anything, I want to be refining those minerals into something else, but waiting for a good opportunity. All right, this is an agri world right now, and it looks like the colony in a box model has finished. So that invites the question, what's the next thing that I want to build on here? Okay, it's got an odd factory. That's another thing that I need to keep in mind, is I really do actually need to be paying attention to whether or not there's any special goods on there. What's the slave situation like? We've got a number of them. So there's an argument for a slave processing facility just so that I can kick the can down the road. Exotic gas refinery is also another thing that I kind of like. We can also double down on things like alloys and whatnot, but I think in this particular case there is a justification for the slave processing facility because this is a farming world. Fargus. All right, more of the same along here. Here we'll do a bureaucratic complex. Again, always checking these just to make sure that there's no special resources that I'm missing out on. And we're definitely going to be over capacity as far as food is concerned. I will build one more of these, but I may need to think a little bit about how I'm handling all of this. So it looks like these are all of my main my new acquisitions that are starting to come online. So we'll give them bureaucracy first. It's not the bravest choice that I could make, but I think I'll live with the consequences for now. We really do not have a lot of space on this world. I kind of want to keep the energy up like this because it would be like as a prime candidate for putting down some kind of a capability multiplier for generator districts, but I do need to have houses. So we'll leave that be for now. They've got 5 jobs, so we're good. They have 1 job, but they do have a free slot available, so I'll leave that. 5 jobs available, so no need. Alright, so this one's going to be a little tricky because we've got 2 jobs that are finishing up, and we don't have any obvious steps in terms of where the future comes. So first of all, we'll upgrade the capital, and then we will upgrade another one of these alloy foundries. Again, we're certainly not going to have any shortage in terms of alloy. If I could generate like 1,000 alloys a turn, that would be beautiful. Looks like I kind of don't know what I'm doing on this planet in general, to be honest. It's a frontier world, so that's maybe not so surprising. Okay, back to the colonies in a box. What does it cost me? So it's volatile motes for more food. And again, this is another bread basket. I actually have a number of these now, so I should probably be reconsidering what I do with Dust Desert. Okay, so this is this is an example of the sort of stuff. If it seems tedious that I go through all of this, like I'm checking every planet, it's specifically for this. So here, I could be not chemical plants. Mote harvesting traps. So this is basically free 2 motes. It's only 1 job, so I'm still going to need to find something for my population to do. But effectively, this is going to give me This is going to give me 2 free motes just by exploiting the planet's existing resources. So that sounds like a pretty good deal to me. But they're so easy to overlook. So Titanic life forms. What's the deal here? Actually, while we're at it, these are relatively inexpensive. So 8 social. All right, I can live with a loss of 8 social. And again, we will give you the joys of bureaucracy. But I will upgrade the... So we'll do the upgrade first, then the complex. All right, looks like it's going to be the same story for most of these. Did I seriously run out of minerals? That's a surprise. I don't think I've ever had that happen before. I usually sell the surplus. I mean, it would be very inexpensive for me to buy them, but I'd rather not get hit by the market fee both ways. So in this case, I'm just going to remember I'm actually going to write this down too. I'll just remember that it's Antac that I need to follow up on. So just a quick sketch of what the plans for the frontier would be. Bureaucratic complex here. Probably upgrade bureaucratic complex for the remaining worlds. This one would be an Autothon monument, but I'm pretty sure 46 minerals won't earn it that. And these guys... Oh, wow. These guys are sitting on nothing. So I need to set them up with some energy and some housing. That's true for a number of these. Okay. So I'm not 100% finished for the... I'm not 100% finished for the existing... excuse me. For the existing systems, but we're in okay shape. I've got idle construction ships. Now, this is largely driven by the fact that we're kind of scared to be moving through our own neighborhood right now. So I'm okay with that. Science ships are doing their job. I'm sure I could be... Let's actually take a quick... I've normally ignored my population. So Science Without Borders, we need research treaties with at least 3 other empires. I am curious what my research relationships are with my vassals. So I only have one with the Kenti Trade Union. And looks like there is no... Looks like there is no research agreement. Yeah, they got to be independent. Okay, so unfortunately, I don't think I have it in me to do any research agreements with people. I think that'll give up too many military secrets. But generally, the most populous faction in my my world is or in my empire is happy. United as one party, they want autocracy, stratified society, elitism, and extranational authority. So, you know, we're doing all right in terms of influence from that. Oh, sorry. It is the Econo Primacy Front. So they want asserting dominance, declaring war on one or more Xeno empires will please the Econo Primacy Front for a time. So obviously I want opportunities to go to war with people, but not at the, not for something that will hurt my long-term interests. And Giant Massacre, putting any of the Gargantuan Leviathan Xenos out of their misery will please the Econo Primacy Front for a time. So, I mean, there's an argument then for me to pursue the Guardians sort of on a case-by-case basis, but I think I'm probably just going to mow through all of them if I can. Okay, so basically we're making them happy in the ways we can, and then we sort of know that our actions in the future will make this group okay. So finally there's the March of the Brave. I believe this is the militarist faction. It's the least populous, so aggressive diplomacy, that's fine. Conquering alien planets, okay. Local rivalry, positioning ourselves as the rival of at least one empire will please March of the Brave. And Leviathans. Okay, so Leviathans are definitely a high priority. I'm a little surprised that we're not declared rival. Oh, well, I know why. Because we actually don't really have any opportunities for rival. Oh! So why didn't I declare a rivalry with these guys? Did I somehow think that we would be on friendly terms? Congratulations. We're now rivals. You wish the factions were a bit more controllable when it comes to them being represented as pops, i.e. allowing for something like, I want to list members of this faction on this planet, so I just move their members to other planets. Ah, yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I've always kind of taken them as like, this is just a thing I need to deal with. But it hasn't caused too much angst. Alright, now this is the thing I was dreading, which is to figure out where I am in terms of production. So it looks like we got a bunch of upgrades going on here right now. Alvis is building just a hell of a lot of stuff. Aculum is on a colony ship, and Taikia... You know what, I think the best thing for me to do here is just let nature take its course, and we'll come up with slightly more useful applications down the road. That's funny. Arcane Deciphering. With the artifacts we are while the artifacts we are researching have not yielded an immediate breakthrough, they are accelerating research in all fields. Hey, I'm not going to complain about a 10% bonus. We do need to get some more artifacts, and unfortunately it is not obvious how I'm going to do that. Okay. I do have some ideas in terms of what my future military engagements will be, but I'll keep that under my hat for now because I think I need a clearer idea of where we're going to be at. All right. So the Grand Herald is... I need to remember that 180 is the new 100 is the new or 190. Excuse me, 190 is the new 180. This is an instructive setup here. So we've maxed out our star bases. They're fully upgraded. So we know we can knock out about 24k for a system. This means that
we will build a brighter future.
If people have fleets like one of my primary fleets, I'm in a bit of trouble because obviously the starbase won't be able to handle, handle the enemies. But it does give me a fighting chance, and obviously there's some things I can do to sort of tip the fight into my favor. Stuff like, disruption field generators and whatnot. And there's a reason why I have an ion cannon built. Like, if they bring Titans, it's going to be a bad day for them. All right, minor improvements to transmission efficiency adds up to a sizable reduction in overall energy loss. So, at this point, because we're doing, like, pure upgrades, I'm just going to go for, like, the lowest cost of all of these. So, 171. I always feel bad that I focus on all these military applications, but in this case, we'll do attack speed for the energy weapons. All right. Similar story as before, we'll just use whatever... not quite rich enough for a bureaucratic complex yet. Now, I'm not crazy about this decision here to to sort of sit on my hands while I wait for the... the ships to be built, but I need a clearer idea of what my needs are. You have to admit, you did kind of enjoy the rapid pop juggling that you had to do when you put all your xenophobes into one station to be given to a friend playing Druid Simulator. I've only really done one big multiplayer game. I had a great time with it.
Construction finalized.
I actually did a fairly decent job of breaking up a coalition against me, like an IRL one, but it's not easy. Okay, what's going on with the ISS Cal Upton? That's just a construction ship, so that's not too exciting. Aculum is done. That was for the colony ship. Fair enough. Okay. I'm gonna give a closer look at what's going on. Oop. Okay, so Grand Herald's taken care of. The Joint Expeditionary Fleet... It looks like that's some fresh... Alright, so these guys are stuck upgrading, but almost certainly these are reinforcements for them. And here I'll just combine these guys for future simplicity. So we also know that our target is in the Sastrum system. Unfortunately... Okay, we've got all the Titans. In this case, apparently I'm just filling out my ranks. Oh, planetary administration, that's why. Alright, so these guys definitely need infrastructure.
Construction finalized.
I need to hit him with another one. Also looks like... Okay, so these guys are gonna... This is like... My god. So the Betharian fields means that I'm going to be able to build a Betharian power plant. Apparently we can build another alien zoo, and we've got an additional 3 generator districts on top of what here's already. So this is a very... This planet is very obvious purpose once we get around to it.
Construction complete.
Okay, Elvis... I don't 100% believe that. So it's saying here that Alvis has finished building. Oh, I get it. It's the additional... So this is a tough call in terms of what I want to do on Elvis. I'm actually going to hold back on some of this stuff. I'm justifying it largely... Okay. My stated reason for justifying it is I want to save the alloys. But the real answer is I just have no idea what the heck I'm doing. Nope, and old Albania's back to...
Construction complete.
Does Rurius? Yeah, Rurius actually needs some... Again, at some point, I'd probably be smart to just get the AI to take care of all of this, but I'm just too selfish. What might be an idea while I'm waiting for some of this stuff? Oh. So Lessim's already on its way to building new stuff. What might be an idea is for me to take a look in my empire. So Afris seems like a really good candidate for to turn into like a new sector. Wait, is there a max? Is there some max on sectors that I wasn't aware of? I feel like I should just be able to designate this system. I feel like I'm going crazy. There should be a way for me to... Oh, okay. Interesting. So for some reason... So Afris Prime... Oh, I think I know why. Because Afris Prime is a member of a sector that I wasn't realizing? Okay, I'll admit I'm a little surprised by that, but fair point. Man, that makes things a little tough for Kraxima. Okay, it looks like Elor is... Oh, move sector capital, that's no good. Okay, so where are all my frontier worlds? Is Torel? Torel doesn't have a planet. Nice. Lessim. Oh yes, I see what's happened here. Okay. This is actually a little bit harder for me to manage than I thought it would be. Okay, so Who gets sucked into the Antok ride?
Finalized.
Not nearly as many as I thought it would be. So if we move the sector capital to...
Construction complete.
Okay, it's the same as before, so we'll trash that for now. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing with the sectors then. I think I'm just going to wait until all the planets are colonized, and then we can maybe redo the borders. How are we doing on those upgrades, friends? Alright, the Titans are going to take forever to upgrade.
System resources analyzed.
Just as long as my science ships aren't idle, I'm okay. And right now, construction has come to a halt. I think that may actually be because we don't have any other expansion options right now. Everything else is currently occupied by... Okay, Algarab is like the last thing that I can take. I am okay leaving that for the AI though, so what we will now do is we'll expand out the only place we
Construction
can.
finalized.
And
Construction
Calapan.
complete.
Sort of a similar story. We'll put it in place and then we'll work out the details a little bit down the road. One problem I'm eventually going to have to deal with is the fact that the Lando system is a huge... the Lando system is like a huge trade port, so it, like... So the trade route value is 560. The protection is too little. Like, I really need to figure out what the hell I'm doing with, I need to figure out what the hell I'm doing with the Lando system. Alright, the Star Nation formerly known as the Dekron Hub, which I believe was the Zathorian AI, has been destroyed by its enemies. How this will affect the political climate of the galaxy remains to be seen. So that's unfortunately a crisis we had to sort of let go to waste, seeing as we weren't in a position to capitalize on it. This is partly due to my failure
Transmission incoming. Discourse anticipated.
Ah, nice. The Sondrithian allied planets wants to give me a bunch of money to not invade them. So first thing I'm going to do, I will accept, but I would actually like to make sure that the money... like to make sure that I get all of the money. I'm at the edge of a... Alright. Let's go on a shopping spree. So first up, edicts. So, might as well. And why not? We'll do recycling as well. Thank you for your donation. Now, whether or not we renew those edicts is another question, but I will enjoy the surplus that comes from it.
Ships upgraded.
Okay, so the forward defense fleet is now 100% ready to go. This is pretty big. So 56.8 on my main fleet. Looks like this one was really just missing the Corvettes, so I might actually be able to throw them all in. So this is 21 that I'll be adding. Yep. So we're still 10 away, but we're getting there. Again, the derelict isn't really...
Hostile reactionaries detected.
Okay, well, we knew this was coming. Question is, do I want to engage them, or do I want to... Yeah, you know what? We will defend what's ours. Yeah, these are the guys who are upgrading, so... There's going to be 2 of them, so the combined strength... Yeah, each individual fleet would be able to do some decent damage.
Mining operation lost.
So we kind of know that...
Mining operation lost.
We kind of know that that's going to happen no matter what. The agreement that we signed giving you access to our databanks has run its course. Would you like to extend it for another 10 standard years, or do your researchers no longer require the information we offer? We'd like to extend our deal. Excellent. Our databanks will remain available to your scientists. So actually, in this case, we're going to head to the border of Zir. I kind of want an idea of what they're going to be doing. So it looks like they're not actually going to take out the... Okay, that's actually useful information for me. So in this case, we're going to roll back a little bit. We're going to head back to the... What are you maniacs doing? We're going to head back to the... home base. And this is just partly because it looks like these guys are already on their way to me. So if I can engage them where the defense platforms are, especially with the ion cannon, we'll be in a stronger position. Construction ship should probably get to a safe spot, though. Oh, this could not have been better timing. Although apparently the forward defense fleet is still missing a Titan, so what's the deal there? So it says I'm three for 3 Titans. Got the Grand... the fleet called the Grand Herald, but only in memory for the ship we lost. Strategic Readiness Fleet has got battleships. Forward Defense Fleet has got battleships. Stellar Fleet currently sitting on cruiser. Yeah. So, presumably the Titans are still under construction? So Elvis is building a bunch of stuff. Yep, the terminal egress is producing 2 more Titans to be finished in 1,000 days. So
construction complete.
All right, bad guys showing up.
Hostiles.
Looks like they're trying to get clever. All right, but we're good. We'll be taking them on. So I am interested in what... So that's clearly the ion cannon doing its work. But it didn't go after the Great Confluence. It went after this nanite reactor. So what's the... Well, one of them. So apparently there's no discernible effect. That's a... Oh yeah, because we just knocked that thing out of the sky. That's exactly why. All right, so let's watch the magic. Again, the ideal situation...
Hostile reactionaries detected.
The ideal situation is one where we don't lose any ships, but that's pretty unlikely. Okay, so we lost 2 battleships and a cruiser. I really want to keep on top of this production. But that was so that we could get... Oh, Jesus. So according to this, we didn't actually take out anything. And there's a third on its way.
The march of progress has been delayed, but not stopped.
Yeah, I'm a little suspicious of some of these numbers here, because very clearly there are some ships that are getting crushed. So apparently there's just one mothership that was destroyed. Everything else is... Ah, okay. Yeah, so that's a little bit more like what I was expecting in terms of casualties. So, one destroyer. 3 corvettes. That's 3 battleships. We lost a defensive platform. Okay. So, defensive platforms priority number 1. That's just because if I lose track of keeping on top of those now, I'm never going to get them back. I believe my construction ship, yeah, they ran away. I would have done the same. And while we're at it, so the 3rd Stellar Fleet needs to head back to the base. The 4th Stellar Fleet. I mean, honestly, we just kind of keep building stuff here at this point. Alright, so they're building a bunch of destroyers, corvettes, etc., etc. Surely I can use some of my other... I just want to make sure that I'm getting the experience. So Aculum. Yep, Aculum it is. Let's get them to make... What are you looking at? Alright. Let's get him to build... Let's start the battleships right away. Taikia. Alright. You need to build a fleet academy first. So we'll leave that be for now until we have... until we're in a bit of a better position with regards to...
Construction finalized.
I need to make sure we're in a better position in terms of keeping our experience high as well. And I can finally finish up some of this work that I was planning on these other worlds. So we didn't give you the proper start, and I regret that. I'm moving the generator district up just so that we can have the workers taken care of right away. Looks like everybody else is where they need to be, but we're kind of back on that treadmill with our old colonies now, so... And of course old Albania has more resettlement to do, so... To Rarius you go. Hey Ascanius, good to see you. Your character survived a very hard day of Darkest Dungeon. I believe I just set myself up for 2 battleships. We didn't do anything else, so let's can move that aside. What I think I'm going to wind up doing is just cannibalizing neighboring fleet. Once everything's repaired, I'm just going to cannibalize the neighboring fleets to deal with that. So in this case, the 2 cruisers will come from... let's make it the Strategic Readiness Fleet.
Scientific progress attained.
So these guys are peeled off and go to not the forward defense. How did I get that wrong? Oh, I need a battleship. Hey, The Exception! Thank you very much for the resubscription. That is 20 months. God, it feels... I don't like this passage of time business. You... This is going to sound very funny. I think I've said this before too, but you tend to come right around the time that I'm feeling particularly sorry for myself with regards to like subs and stuff like that. I always keep forgetting that you are one of the later... you're like one of the later subs to come in. Oop. Crap. So yeah, right around the time that I'm feeling sorry for myself, you come in and it makes me feel a little chipper. So thank you for that. Okay, 1 battleship, 1 destroyer, 3 corvettes. 1 battleship, 1 destroyer. This one doesn't have any corvettes. Blah. It's always a pain to manage this, but... Although these guys do have the 2 cruisers that I want. As for the rest, the Grand... Why does the Grand Herald not have an Admiral now? What's my next strongest fleet? Oh yes, I need to be a little bit more careful about those upgrades. Okay, actually that's not as bad as I thought it would be. Oh, it's the Devastator torpedoes. Okay, cool. All right. Advanced torpedoes with very powerful warheads. They have a sleeker design, faster engines, and upgraded shield modulators for slipping through enemy screens. Again, I want to go for cheap tech, ideally with a military focus, but in this case, the cheapest tech is probably the best at this point. And I really do need to start considering mega engineering sooner rather than later, but in this case, 10 months is kind of hard to turn down. Read your Telltale article. Do you think that they'll make licensed games, or are they too small of an entity to attract big brands now? I don't think that those are mutually exclusive options, Ascanius. By the way, thank you very much for reading that. I hope you enjoyed it, and for those of you who... oh no, Talwin, it has actually been bought. So you have given me a wonderful excuse to plug my blog. I'm actually just going to give you, here's the general link as it is, and for those of you who are interested in the Telltale article, there's that one here. So for those of you who are unaware, Telltale Games was purchased by buyers. I believe it's called LCG Entertainment. My suspicion here is that, so one, I think they are going to be trying to, if they don't already have them, securing the licenses to some of the properties that it's already familiar with. So obviously it is a huge feather in their cap if they're able to make another Fables game, like The Wolf Among Us 2, basically. And I can see the owners of that IP wanting to be able to sort of capitalize on the Telltale name, because one of the things I didn't really speak too much about in that article, but I think is true, is that much like political stuff, there is the world as perceived by people like me who are like always online and always like kind of think that Twitter, like opinions on Twitter are basically the opinions that everyone has, and it's an incredibly seductive way of looking at the world, because it really just does seem to be that way a lot of the time. But in the case of Telltale, I think that there's a very small number of people who know and care about what happened to that studio. That doesn't mean that it's, you know, good or bad. That's just a statement of the state of the world. And so I think there's a reasonable argument to be made that as far as the sort of the reactions to the, you know, the fact that they didn't get any severance or something like that, I don't actually think that that is going to weigh down the decisions, like the consumption decisions that people will be making about Telltale games. And the big point of that article was just to say that, like, when the news broke, a lot of people were less than happy about the decision to basically hire back. So like they weren't going to make the new version of Telltale was going to have a certain number of people working for it. And obviously that number is not going to be as large as what it was when the company closed. But more importantly, those jobs that were offered were basically freelance jobs. So you're not guaranteed that there's going to be something waiting for you on the other side. And so a lot of people sort of looked at that and said that it was a callous or, otherwise inappropriate move. Now, I'm very sympathetic to the counter arguments to that, which effectively go something to the point of, well, look, like it's not, the world in which Telltale exists as it was before, like that's not a possibility. The company wouldn't have folded if there weren't issues. And like I am somewhat sympathetic to that view, but that doesn't make it any less distasteful that people who used to work for the company are being offered their old jobs under lesser conditions than what they would have otherwise. So that article is basically an effort to try and reconcile people's skepticism over the new Telltale with the fact that it is, I think, largely a good thing that company is coming back, and that I think to read the views of the owners, Game Daily, sorry, is it GameDaily.biz? I'm pretty sure it's GameDaily.biz. The link is in the article. They've done some good reporting in terms of what the new owners' intentions are along those lines. But to deal with Ascanius's question, will they make licensed games? I mean, that really is the sort of thing that Telltale was best known for. It's actually kind of hard to think about original IP that they made. So like even stuff like Poker Night at the Inventory is usually relying on other people's characters. But will it be, what will the future hold in terms of the types of games that they make? I'm not 100% sure. But in this case here, I think you can be like, clearly the asset that they bought is this thing that connects people to a certain idea. So like, if you're somebody who let's say that you own Fables, right? And you have two people who are coming with proposals for you. Someone who maybe has a reputation for narrative games, but it's been like, okay, let's say BioWare, right? Because BioWare, the one license thing that they've done are the Star Wars games. So BioWare comes up and says, hey, we would like to do a take on Fables. And then Telltale comes. Well, actually, yeah, BioWare might be a harder one just because it's an order of magnitude larger than Telltale. And then Telltale comes along and says, hey, The Wolf Among Us is one of the most popular titles that we've had. People are really interested in a follow-up game, and we can offer it so that we can make it in such a way that the decisions that you made in the original Wolf Among Us will be integrated into this follow-up game, and we'll be making it with people who are familiar with the Telltale style of game. Now, there's no guaranteed way in terms of what people's answers are going to be to that, but I would propose to you that it's probably a safer bet to say the new Telltale can work with that license. If you can only pick one, I would say that that's a bit of a safer bet than BioWare, where you really don't know what's going to be coming out. I think there's enough demand for a Wolf Among Us game. I think that's quite apparent. I think the big thing about Telltale and its closure was that it closed at right around the time that it actually could have had a successful turnaround. Like, it really was a liquidity problem that they had rather than some sort of like systemic issue. And so in that situation, I actually see them in a very strong position to be able to continue making licensed games. But whether or not the owners of that IP feel the same way, I don't know. Obviously, it's an open question. Anyways, I hope that answered the question as best as I could. I may not have said anything particularly meaningful, but those are my feelings. I think I will build another lab against my better judgment, unless there's no titanic life forms. Oh, I don't have the research center up yet. Jackley Intersolar has entered the favorable pact. Well, that's a shame. I mean, I suppose in terms of acquisitions,
Construction finalized.
Antigage is like target number 1, and then if it comes right down to it, like in terms of where was it? Union's map mode. Like this is it at this point. Like Antigage, the Kenti Trade Union, and the Fallen Empires are like they're the ones who they're the only ones who are independent. I'm curious what that's done to the scores. I mean, that's still pretty respectable. But yeah, we need to find some ways to break up this coalition. The military calculation is largely the same as it was before. But the priority still remains dealing with the gray, because it's never going to let up. Remember Game of Thrones had a mediocre game. They sought out Telltale due to their success, so companies would still choose Telltale over a bigger name if they're confident in the new brand. Yep. I mean, the other thing too is it sometimes depend. Like some of this is a question in terms of Jackley Intersolar is willing to open the borders because they feel safe again. I think some of this too just becomes a question, like there's lots of different, so like if you think about how Games Workshop like handles some of its licenses and that, like they seem to be willing to give it to anyone, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like obviously I'd like it if I know that like every time Warhammer 40k comes out as a game, like it's going to be a really good one. But like it's Games Workshop's problem if people start thinking that a Warhammer 40k game can be like anything across this really wide distribution. So, and I think like this may demonstrate a lack of imagination on my part, but it's kind of hard for me to imagine a sort of like a property that is so like it's successful enough that somebody wants to make a game, but for some reason it's like it's also an IP that is so fragile that if you make like the wrong game, like it if you give it to the wrong company, they're going to make a game so bad that people's enjoyment of like the TV show or something like that is diminished. Like that usually just doesn't happen. Essentially the game developers sort of renting revenue at this point. They get a boost in terms of marketing and whatnot, and the owner of the IP gets a nice check for somebody being able to use some of the things that they've developed. So yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot about these kinds of contracts, but it would strike me as a little weird if people were too precious about the IPs that they have. It has to be saved. Did I say that? I'm pretty sure I said Warhammer 40k. Apparently I didn't enunciate properly.
Transmission incoming. Discourse anticipated.
All right, the Democratic Andigon League also wants to give me 12,000 energy credits because I'm such a nice guy. The funny thing here is I actually fear the Federation that they're in, but everybody feels the need to give me tribute.
Construction finalized.
Okay. So battleships are done soon. We need cruiser, destroyer, and 3 corvettes.
Construction finalized.
It's probably a little foolish for me to put it all on that one. Okay, communication from the Flajazvan Ancients. Greetings, Acano Variatus. As you no doubt know, we Flajazvan are dedicated to the study and conservation of all forms of life in the galaxy. We have studied your species and determined that the Acano High Kingdom is unlikely to last for more than a few centuries at best. In order to ensure the continuation of the Acano Variatus species, should the worst befall your empire, we would like to acquire a part of your population for our endangered species preserve. We will construct a special reservation that perfectly mirrors the natural habitat of your species, and the population will be well taken care of and protected from all harm, so you need not worry on their behalf. So what do you say? Will you contribute to the preserve and safeguard the future of your species? How close are they? I mean, they are... They are dastardly xenophiles. I'm not sure they like me very much. Okay, they are neutral. They don't like my slavery policy. They don't like the fact that I'm xenophobic. So we could say, very well, you'll have your contribution. And then for 10 years, lower happiness. We will never surrender our population to alien hands. Why would I even consider that?
System resources analyzed. Construction complete.
Okay, with directional gravity technology, buildings on the surface of planets can reach higher than ever before without risking structural collapse. The sky is the limit. Okay, better Titans is never a bad thing, but 47 months is a long time to ask. Get robot modification points. Ugh. See, these are all really good. I think I am going to go for some of the low-hanging fruit for a bit, though, because there's always going to be another super engineering project for me to work on.
Construction complete.
I'm reasonably pleased that Terminal Egress is almost done its work. Looks like Alvis will be done its batch of corvettes relatively soon. So I think I need to start thinking about what the future holds in terms of additional construction. I kind of hate that I'm doing this, but I'm actually going to make Lando... It's going to get its own starbase. Just because I actually think it's the last... It's like the last holdout. I think everything else is safe from piracy. That's actually kind of interesting that because everything just gets funneled through this system, I have to come up with a rather blunt solution like that. Okay. I'm just trying to think of any... Oh, what's going on here? Is it just the fact that they're not connected to anything? Sure, give another thing to Lando to... I wonder if any of these other planets are disconnected. I know I messed up with the trade links before. Looks like they're okay. I really want Polygar back.
Construction complete.
All right, so we built this right around the time that I'm not able to take advantage of it. I do need to upgrade this Star Fortress though, because I want to take advantage of the curators. Or not curators, the Zero Corp or whoever it is.
System resources analyzed.
The Calupon unfortunately got there a lot earlier than its companion. So we can fix that though, so we'll give you a move order instead, and you can build a starbase. I'm partly conscious of the fact that my influence is so much, is getting close to the cap, so I need to figure out some things to do with it. You know what would be really funny?
Construction complete.
Hostile attitude. So the Sundrithian allied planets and the Democratic Andgod League are okay with it, as apparently is the Akano Nation. But the Commune of Vislok, the Zathorian Confederation, the Ketling Star Pack, and Jackley Intersolar all vote no. So one of the things I was thinking of is like, what if I join the Federation and like take it apart from the inside? Oh, this is interesting. So it's because the Grey are around that everybody's joining this. So I wonder if the fact that, so when we get rid of these things, I wonder if people will start to leave the Federation. I didn't even think of the possibility that, because like obviously I've done a great job of containing the Grey so far, so it's been a crisis in name, but not necessarily in practice.
Construction finalized.
What are we looking at here? All right, this was the 3 Corvettes. So these guys are immediately heading to the terminal egress. I really need to start making some decisions in terms of what my fleet composition looks like. How far are we from... All right, we're on our last 3 Corvettes, and then basically all the shipyards will be silent, which I'm a little uncomfortable with, because clearly we need replacements for things.
Finalized.
Problem is that I've had a little bit of a headache, and again, I want to do a cast no matter what.
Complete.
I'm actually in a very similar state to where I was when I streamed Darkest Dungeon on Friday, and that obviously ended in
Construction
disaster.
complete.
But the thing is that I really do try and keep on top of like doing some consistent broadcasts, even when I'm not feeling 100%. So it's debatable whether or not I want to be extending out my borders like this. The big advantage here is that up to, man, all the way up to Bitron, actually, like, as far as any concerns that we have of invasion, Vokon is already taken care of. So effectively, we can expand out all the way here, and that's kind of the second access point. And of course, like, we've always had multiple entry points. There's the Tiber system as well. And really, at this point, it's just a matter of building up the defenses. Okay. The Andigonj Nation really is spoiling for a fight, and I will happily give it to them as soon as they fall to a lower status of military. We're just a little over a year from our delicious new Titans. I suspect that will have quite a bit to do with it. Of course, again, there's going to be this whole period of making sure that all the ships are in the areas that they need to be. We've got our lovely little amoeba friend who
Construction finalized.
we won't forget. I need to figure out what I'm doing. Well, it's a tech world, so at this point, we've got the research center. I think we just do another... research lab. In the worst case scenario, I find other ways of getting exotic gases. Until I find other ways of getting exotic gases, we can... It's not every day that I have a surplus of energy credits. The tricky thing here is I don't actually have any really good jobs to dump them into. Probably buying a bunch of alloys makes the most sense here, because everything else is plentiful, or at the very least sort of maintaining. Let's make sure there isn't anything special that I can do on some of my worlds to like spend a bunch of energy and do magical things. Be a little careful with Rurius. Like, it's not unlimited in terms of the workspace. Okay, so first of all, belongs in a museum, and there isn't any fancy energy stuff for me to do. So. I don't think I can afford 29. We definitely overpaid for those alloys, but 17k, I'm pretty content with that. There's one of two things that I want to be doing with that. Either number one, I want to build yet another navy. That's going to be pretty expensive all told. I gotta figure out something to do with these guys too. Oh, that's right, I actually kicked the can down the road on that. 2 alloy factories. They're producing some consumer goods, but nothing that I'm too excited about. There is a temptation here to drop a like a Ministry of Production. Thing is, I'm just not sure I have the productive capacity to get them doing anything else. But then the question is, like, what's the alternative? I could put down another alloy foundry. How are my moats? I mean, they're okay. Yeah, I think I will put down administrative production. That'll give me the administrator job, and then we just worry about upgrading some of our buildings, and in the worst case scenario, we maybe realign some of our production priorities. This place has 2, so this is currently a mining world. Now that's just a shame. That is. Oh, but I know why. It's because of mineral purification plants. So it does actually make sense that the mining output goes up that much higher. So if I give you Ministry of Production, it'll still just be metallurgists and artisans. But I think I'm okay with that because we are going to keep building other Oh, you know what? Some of those empty spots I should have seen if I could have built a trade, some kind of trade building. All right, now this really is the big question. Oh no, it's not because it's a generator world. Although I kind of think all of my new worlds are going to be generator worlds. And Okul, I think Okul is kind of, I mean, they're in the Kabji system, so unless I start running out of exotic gases, it's kind of labs forever. Again, I'm a little uncomfortable with all these quiet shipyards. Here's what we're going to do. This is a little weak because I'm not making some firm decisions in terms of where I want to prioritize my upgrades, but this is also one of these rare opportunities I have to sort of raise the level of all of my bases, and probably have some. Well, it's not a huge surplus, but it gives me something to work with. All right, now these guys are basically going to get hangars and possibly only hangars. And that's just to help out with the piracy rating. Again, I'm just going to sit on this for a little while. We'll figure out some other things to do.
Our research has progressed.
Okay, robot modification points +1. Improved production practices allow for greater alterations to synthetic workers without compromising core functionality. Now, one thing that would be really helpful with the robot workers would be if you could, or actually any population, it would be really helpful if it would tell you like what kind of jobs everybody is currently occupied with. The reasoning being that you could make some customization decisions in terms of people, like the jobs that people were doing. So let's take species, yeah. So for instance, right, we've got Acano Variatus. Maybe I want to modify the template, but there's nothing to work with just one trait point. Hey, Awoken. Apparently we can do some more things to you. We'll figure that out later. Okay, so these are robots. Right now we've set them up as harvesters. Now I could give them, I mean, I could do bulky and then get some other kind of advantage, but we could double jointed, lower housing usage, durable, lower upkeeps, assembly speed quicker, bonus unity from jobs. I mean, none of these are like, holy smokes. I gotta see if some of these guys are working in research. Yeah, I'm not going to apply the template yet. But this is the challenge, right? I have no idea what some of these guys are doing. Also, like, Okul is a prime candidate for a nice fat trade hub.
Construction complete.
I suppose the other thing that I need to be focusing on is what am I going to do with the rest of the... what am I going to do with like the rest of the 10 points in my fleets? Okay, we really only have one option here, which is the Federation. We must build stable and lasting partnerships with our neighbors based on trust and mutual respect. Together we are far stronger than we could ever hope to be alone. Form Federation. So I am slightly curious. The Sundrithian don't completely hate me. So I'm just mildly curious whether or not I can invite to Federation. They won't join it because they're capitalists. So apparently there are things that I could do to make them happier. I bet if I gave them a migration treaty, they'd be okay with the Federation. What I was really curious about, though, was whether or not I'd be able to steal members. Because if I can get, let's say, like the Econo Nation and I don't think the Sundrithian... Well, the Sundrithian actually would probably be okay. They were okay with me joining, so I'm sure I could sweeten the pot. But basically, one, the Econo Nation would be getting the brunt of the Commune of Vislok. But basically, it would kind of give me a little something more to whoa, what's going on here? Oh, they're ancient caretaker. Okay. Oh, that's wild. So I thought they were these guys. Oops. Yeah. I don't know. We'll figure something out with the Federation. I hope we'll figure something out with the Federation. I also need to figure out what I'm doing with my last star base. Because, like, I basically have everything in place. Alright. I also don't know if Trappist 4... Okay, Trappist 4 is currently not being colonized. Should have done this earlier. I believe the game gives you a warning.
Construction complete.
If you're... Yep, planet already has a planned colony. Oh, and it looks like I actually do have some worlds that are still terraforming. That's a little surprising.
Planetary worksite established.
Okay. Man, you got nothing here. Alright, we'll, as usual, set you up with a bunch of generator districts, because honestly, that's really the thing I'm most interested in right now. We are okay in the L gate at the moment. We are 260 days away from Titans.
Construction complete.
Okay. What about the rest of the fleets? So these guys... This would also be another thing that's helpful. So it does actually tell you how long it takes to travel. So in this case, they're 180 days away. These guys are 89. It'd just be kind of helpful if you could get that on a mouse over. And again, the better situation would be is if I had the presence of mind to just like actually calculate what all my additional, like what my needs are for a new fleet. I'm just a little too scatterbrained to be able to think of that right now. So I'm going to look at the finished fleets. We're clearly going to go over the fleet limit, but not by that much. Hopefully we can get another Titan in the mix. But second stage processing of pseudo-refined minerals allow for more efficient storage and transportation. Ah, Lots of options. But again, in this particular case, especially because I feel like I'm missing out on some 520. Oh wow. I've been ignoring mineral isolation for a long time now. Oh, nope, this is what I was looking for. Synthetic personality matrix. Unlocks feature synth leaders. So this is exactly what I've been looking for. I've probably missed it a couple of times, but... But yeah, the plan here, once I get my new Titans, we will head straight into the maw.
Establishing means of production.
There is a slight side of me that wants to upgrade the base at Zir, basically so that I can do some repairs for people.
Construction
I think it will take
finalized.
too long. Okay, so Kraxima needs jobs. So it doesn't hurt to have people making
System
like resources.
analyzed.
Oh wow, okay, that's not gonna work. I don't need those, so congratulations. You know, the world is paved forever. And it's a generator world, so I'm still not sure what I want to do with them.
Construction complete.
Okay, Revac, you get a mining station, and you get terraformed. I actually should probably be looking at my energy before I do that. But... Alright, somehow I gave the forward defense fleet too many ships. Or too many battleships, rather. So strategic readiness has destroyers. Wait, what the hell is going on here? So these guys... Okay, so I gotta get rid of one cruiser. One destroyer. Okay. Cruisers, 18 destroyers, 48. Alright. And against my better judgment, I am going to go back to the... Okay, these guys can all join together, and this is just partly so I can keep retain my sanity. Okay, escort, that's fine. Derelict, also fine. Here. Did we ever have a name for this? The ISS Salvage. And... if I can get rid of numbered... Oh, here we go. So we'll see which one of these two survives the combination. Okay, let's just start by smashing these two things into each other, and we'll make up the rest as we go. And apparently this is like, this accounts for everything, so it's somewhere along the line I probably miscalculated in terms of what my needs would be. But that's fine because the shipyards are coming back online. We get new Titans in 2 months. Okay, so before I do anything else, I'm going to say Titan 6-8, 1848. Okay, 1848. So apparently I'm one short on Corvettes. We can fix that right now. What else are we short on? So these guys are good. The tactical response is short a battleship, 4 cruisers, and a Titan. Mind you, this is like my bonus fleet at this point. Oh, no, they need to be at full capacity. So you... I was gonna try and build it. Okay, with that in mind... Everything else is where it needs to be. Starting to look handsome.
Construction finalized.
Alright, so this is a tech world. I might want to build the research facility right away if I can. Nope, needs a planetary capital. So in this case,
construction finalized.
Doesn't have an alloy foundry yet though, so we'll build that now. I have a feeling a number of these are oh no, the upgrades are still coming.
Our research has progressed.
Okay, naval capacity plus 20. Oh no, it's capacity, not fleet size, so that's not as bad. Improved fleet management procedures will free up the resources needed to maintain a bigger fleet. Okay, it's always tempting to go for the admin capacity, but I don't want to fall into the trap of going down one path the whole time. So until the floor is raised, I'm going to edict duration actually seems to be a nice little cost saving measure. So the big drawback here is that I let my admin capacity grow forever. And while that's actually probably not a terrible thing, it means I'm missing out on some cheap wins as far as... Okay, why don't you like Auto Explorer? Okay. It could be because the entire galaxy's been explored now. So, we need to go on to Phase 2. Let's do our... Planets and sectors menu. Holy crap, look at Ceradon. Yeah, so Ceradon and Okul are my two... are going to be the 2 planets where these science ships go now. In fairness, I probably should have done this a lot sooner. But it is sort of nice to know what you're looking at in the world or the galaxy. If we see any other... I mean, so there's little things like these regions, like basically any hostile territories, presumably we won't be exploring for a while, but for now I'm happy to give sort of a percent-based bonus to my planets that are generating entirely too much science. Obviously, I'm relying quite heavily on the idea that I'm going to be keeping these planets, but it's not the worst bet that I've ever made. Clearly, if I lose the planets, I have other more pressing concerns. Now, the big problem that I'm running into with terminal egress is I don't know if I'm going to get impatient. Like, the question is, do I really want to wait another year?
Construction complete.
To try and take out the local menace. I think in this case I'm just going to build another lab. Again, the idea here is that if I start running out of space on these worlds, I can always sort of retool the research accordingly.
Construction finalized.
But I do want to double down on the advantages that I have on those worlds. So, yeah, well, that's not a surprise that old Albania is. I should probably at this point consider shutting down the robot manufacturing plant. It appears progressing nicely. We've dealt with the dust desert, so that's good news. Let's give you bureaucracy. Okay, forward defense fleet is now complete. Of course, they are going to say that they want more than one of these. Tactical response is still waiting for theirs, apparently? That doesn't seem right. The Zealots got the Titan. Okay. Not quite what I had in mind, but cool. I suppose with that in mind, I can just add the Zealots to the Grand Herald at this point. It kind of messes around a little bit with my numbers, but I prefer it to some of the alternatives. And I think the next time we do a big, battle, I can reconsider where I put everything. So we're gonna do this wonderful little exercise in production again.
Complete.
Holy smoke! Jesus. Okay. Titan it is. I'm going to keep it at the home world just so I don't rely on this thing.
Construction finalized.
And I think I am going to decide to... I'm going to wait until we've constructed everything before we start the fight. Okay, these guys... I think they got the... What is going on here? All right. You gotta give up those cruisers, pal. I just messed up the numbers, didn't I? This is why I don't use the fleet manager.
Construction finalized.
So where the hell did that other battle... Oh, the battleship's still in production. Alright. Let's build you guys up here. These are Arctic worlds, so they are due for terraforming. I want to be a little careful about this just to make sure that I don't miss out on the chance to buy more research and stuff like that. But we're doing okay in the pocketbook. And we are going to get a whole ton of star bases coming online. I think once Alvis is done building, so where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need one more battleship. So this is where I'm going to free up the production of things like cruisers and whatnot. But I think I'd like to do another round of upgrades for the... Well, do I?
Construction
I'll think about it.
complete.
Got 2 there. Actually, while I'm at it, I feel like I'd have a much easier time of things if I actually remembered to write down what the standing order was. So, template. 1 Titan, 6 battleships, cruisers, 18. Obviously that's going to change when I decide what to do with the remaining 10 points. Give me something to think about for now. I might also want to start considering how that works as far as cost.
Construction complete.
So many more costs.
Construction complete.
How much you want to bet that ship went to the wrong group? I think that was the battleship. It's always an uphill battle maintaining order. There's got to be like a lock or something like that that I can apply to this. While I'm waiting, let's also just take a quick peek at the ship designer. I'm slightly nervous about the possibility that I let like an old model. So I mean, this is the whole thing where we lost all our ships the last time. We were using like decades old technology for seemingly no reason. This is just a daft setup. Like, I have no idea why the AI really likes doing this. I mean, I might as well tell it, you know, if you're gonna do a crappy design, at least do... Oh, really? Well, I've screwed it up already, so I'm sure it's going to make it all that much harder for me to... All right. Yep. It's actually going to be really hard for me to identify which of these are made by the AI. I probably shouldn't have done that, but I'm committed now.
Construction finalized.
That is a decision from the AI, Shalakor. That's not the ship design that I'm actually using.
Scientific progress attained.
Let me show you. So these are the ships. In fairness, this is not exactly my design so much as this is me just trying to nudge the AI's design to a slightly less insane choice. But for some reason, the auto-designed ones just stopped upgrading once I got to Shields 3. They decided that that was the best form of Armor 3. And so I sent all of my fleets into a fight with the Grey using extremely outdated technology. And I'm not making that mistake again. So at the very least in this case, if I make a mistake in terms of the ship that I create, it won't be good because it's all armor as opposed to armor and shields, but it will at least not be like something that everybody's weapons can blow through in 10 seconds. New developments in tech cooling regularly surface, improving the stability and efficiency, of our weapon systems, keeping them from blowing up the ships on which they are mounted. You feel like as a future tech, we would have already figured that out, but apparently not. So you can get reduced building costs or shield harmonics. I would normally like to do reduced building costs, but the fact of the matter is that we just have so much in terms of minerals. I don't ever think, except for the beginning of this stream, which for some reason finally gave me the one point where I've run out of money. I don't think it's ever been a problem to pay for that sort of stuff.
Construction finalized.
Oh, I'm glad I got it right. I mean, sometimes I go for stuff that seems obvious, and I'm totally wrong. And other times I hear, "Oh, you're the only person who got the name right." So I think that's just a thing. It's just an internet thing. I mean, obviously everybody has a reason for the name that they chose. It may not be a good reason, but they have a reason. I've just kind of resigned myself to the fact that I'll probably never actually get the correct pronunciation down, but I'm delighted when it works. Hey, thank you very much for the follow. Okay, so, I mean, this may not be a good idea, but at some point we are going to need to confront these dastardly, these dastardly bots. So we'll now move the fleet out. We're not taking Old Bluey. Old Bluey is our mascot. But we will at least take my big fleet, and we will see how well it performs. The thing I fear is that all of the stuff in that system is going to be back. But the way I'm going to handle this, I'm going to make sure that everybody gets into position. So as you can see, the derelict class ship takes its sweet time. Oh. This is why I'm not worried about reducing building costs. Can you see Old Bluey? Absolutely. Old Bluey is apparently combined with the army, so let's get that out of the way. Dark mode, light mode. Dark mode, light mode. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Look at that face. I'm not going to throw them to the rampaging Nanites. Also, as is tradition, once these guys go after the Grey, we will slow it right down and put on the dramatic music. Unfortunately, the salvage really does take its time.
Construction finalized.
It's not even that good of a ship anymore, but for some reason it is exceptionally good at surviving battles. You're looking for a few Stellaris streams because even though you have 600 hours in it, you're not the best. You're actually the only streamer of the 4 that you went to that reads chat. Oh, that's a shame. I mean, I don't know if I'll be the thing that you're looking for. One of the things that I think permits me to read chat is that I really like, maybe not role-playing the game, but I don't have any ambitions to becoming quote-unquote a good Stellaris player. I really enjoy Like I really enjoy sort of like living in the world and messing around with it. I'll give you an example. Like every time we start a new Stellaris playthrough, I think this is actually one of the first times I've gone on a harder difficulty, and it's been a really nice challenge just due to a couple of quirks of the game. But every time we start a new species, oh, what am I doing? This should be contacts, or is it? No, it probably is species. We always write a story, so this one is our space story. There's a streamer who I really like called Johnny Big Time. Last time he got as far as 2400 before alloys was yeah, I actually play the game rather slowly too, but Johnny Big Time is a good friend of this channel's, and he loves dwarves. Like anytime there's a dwarf option in the game, he immediately picks it, and he apparently did not realize that dwarves were added in the humanoid pack. So essentially he was asking, like, why is this even a discussion? Like, you need to do the space dwarves. So in honor of his recommendations, I had like an idea for the distant or for the ancient, what is it, Ancient Relics, I think is the latest DLC. Anyways, the one that Paradox sent, I should probably have disclosed that a little bit earlier. So this is the story we came up with to justify the dwarf people. This is the story of Harrison Jones, High King of Old Albania. No artifact was safe from Jones, and even the most ingenious engineers of ages past could not develop a mechanism that would confound his brilliance. Through his legendary exploits, Jones united the quarrelsome tribes and set his sights on new secrets and the treasures buried within. The Akano people of Old Albania are now reaching out to the galaxy in their stone ships, continuing the great work of the High King. No tomb is safe, and no civilization will remain untouched. So obviously, this is my effort to try and do something in line with the new DLC. And so we decided that these dwarves, as far as traits, they would be the base rating for them. They had an alpine preference. They were industrious, natural engineers, and strong. But they were non-adaptive. We're now cyborg dwarves, so we also have cybernetic, industrious, natural engineers, traditional, strong, and non-adaptive. And as far as government is concerned, they are xenophobic, militarist, materialists. Our original civics were Byzantine bureaucracy and Philosopher King. So Philosopher King is obviously Harrison Jones, the founder. I always imagined that the Byzantine bureaucracy would be like if you wanted to get some kind of government documentation, like a passport or a driver's license, you would first be consulted in the great database of grudges, and all scores would be settled before you could get that. And then we also took a distinguished admiralty. But yeah, that's basically anytime that I play this game, it usually goes along these lines, which is I almost always pick options that I think are just slightly more fun. Rather than necessarily being an optimal choice. And that's definitely come back to like bite me in terms of this game. But what is that little pocket that's not collected to the galaxy where your fleet is mainly? Is that the L-gate or something? You haven't really messed with that yet because you only play multiplayer with a couple of friends and you aren't that far in. Yep, that's exactly what the L-gate is. So not to give too much away, I won't tell you how frequently this happens, but it turns out in this version of the game, and this changes each time, but it turns out that this L-gate was sealed because there was a terrible thing lying behind it, and that the civilization that gave birth to that terrible thing sacrificed themselves in order to protect the galaxy from it. And we, being, relic hunters, decided it would be a really good idea to open it. And we are now trying to finally put the evil thing to rest. Oh, cool. All right. So, looks pretty calm. This means I'm going to take the opportunity and reach out. You know what? I've never actually played Halo, but I have a bit of an idea about what you're talking about. So, all right, let's take a look at. So again, I'm running out of things to do. So we've got Kabji's already taken care of. Okul is already taken. Wait, do I not have a ship on? Let me just double check with this. So they're heading to. Where's their ultimate destination? Okay, so they're on their way to Ceradon. They're on their way to Okul. Yeah, those are right. And Kabji is the last big one. You also did a little role-playing thing. That's where your buddies and I... Yeah, I mean, it's... So, like, I think... Obviously, everybody's going to enjoy Paradox games in their own ways. I think one of the things that's underrated in the way that people play Stellaris... And again, I'm kind of talking my own book here, right? But I think one of the things that makes it so fun to do these like in-character kind of playthroughs, especially when you wind up creating your own species and whatnot. I am sort of filibustering a little bit so that I get enough time to like build up the big fight. But basically, Stellaris is one of the most unique sandbox games that basically you have, you have this broad canvas to work with. And, there's some things that'll be the same. So obviously the order in which you get text will, not be identical, but roughly the same because it's, you put in new cards in the deck once you select certain texts and whatnot. But essentially, like, this is your playground. You can do whatever the heck you want here. And I think there's some tremendous opportunities that come out of it. But, like, in the end, like, I think if you want a hardcore war game, Hearts of Iron 4 is a really clear option. If you want, like, just throw yourself into it, grand strategy style game, Europa Universalis is probably one of the best just overall in terms of the design and all of the things that you can do. I think Europa Universalis really is the one to beat when it comes down to that. But, and then in terms of role-playing, like obviously Crusader Kings 2 just lets you do so many cartoonishly horrible things to people that, that one... the strategy is a nice secondary feature of that game, it sometimes feels like. But in the case of Stellaris, like, it's not to knock any of the strategy or anything behind it. It's a very satisfying feature of the game, but obviously when you have, like, unlike any of those other Paradox games which have history keeping you, like, they kind of keep you tethered to certain options, or at the very least, like, there are some obviously good choices and there are some things that you wouldn't consider doing in those strategy games. In the case of Stellaris, like, the galaxy is yours to do with as you please. So I kind of think that leaning into the whole idea of, I'm going to make this mine, and one of the ways I'm going to make this mine is to make a species that I think is consistent with what I think is an interesting idea. Like, to me, that's kind of the heart and soul of why I continue to keep playing Stellaris. Anyways, We've run out to the ends of the galaxy. I think it's traditional to pick the Imperial fleet in moments like this. I believe the ships are already on their way. Yes. It must be perfect.
Enemy station engaged.
Oh, dude, these guys have got no hope. I would have thought they would have prepared.
For lack of a better word, is good.
I'm pretty broke because the army only pays what it has to. Haha. Really love the stream, though, man.
Shellicor, I mean, I'm not used to getting donations at all anymore. Twitch made a lot of changes. I guess it's coming on to like almost 2 years ago now, or yeah, about 2 years ago now. So honestly, like, the fact that you paid anything at all, like, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm Canadian, so I don't know. I think there's probably some quirks that are different. But do you mind if I ask what you're doing in the army? And yeah, I know it's really easy for a lot of these a lot of streamers to say this sort of thing, but I really mean, like, it is genuinely one of these cases where it is the thought that counts. You absolutely did not need to do that. It's obviously free entertainment for a reason. But thank you so much. It really does, it does a lot, especially because I wasn't thinking of streaming tonight because of the headache. So I'm trying not to blind you all, but I want you to see the death of the factory.
Construction complete.
All you are is a 92G in the U.S. Army. Basically, you're a cook, but from what you've learned from AIT, which is job training, is when you get deployed to places like the Middle East, you're basically infantry. Okay, I have done, back when so I started off in the film industry as a camera assistant, and curse this trinary star system. It's so bright everywhere. All right, yeah, no problem. So I'm a little familiar with sort of what the expectations are and how, like, you have a job that you do, but then there's also, like, you're a soldier first. But obviously that's Canadian rather than... So anyways, I did an application for them, but I'm an economist now rather than an army, or in the army, so it's a very sensible career curve if you don't think about it too much.
Construction complete.
Revenge! Our forces have succeeded in destroying the main facility at the Grey Tempest. With the neutralization of its subspace transmitter, all existing Tempest nanomachines have been rendered inert. Unable to maintain their cohesion, their ships have dissolved into nothingness. Any planets that were covered by the Tempest's grey goo are now home to enormous swirling dust storms consisting of nothing but disabled nanites. With time and resources, these worlds could possibly be made habitable once again. Another threat dealt with. Nanite worlds can now be terraformed into any standard planet class if basic technological requirements are met. Let us witness this grand moment. This thing's probably just going to disappear rather than, like, properly blow up, but... There's one of ours, sadly. It's getting a little crowded here, guys. Maybe it just hangs out forever. Okay, what's the butcher's bill? We need... I'm running out of space here. One destroyer... One corvette, one cruiser, okay, I mean, 2 destroyers, a corvette, and a cruiser is definitely an acceptable... Those are pretty acceptable losses for what we just accomplished. Good work, folks. We're going to go hunting Leviathans next. Unfortunately, it does mean that I have things for my science ship to do now, so let's get... We'll set them to... So the reason I need to set them to passive is because they think that there are enemies which are no longer there. So clearly we can't go after the Ether Drake as much as I would like to. And the Kofefi system is protected by spaceborne organics. So, but apparently I neglected the mining operations. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of idle time while we repair and rebuild. But I'm generally pretty happy about how that all went.
Establishing means of production.
Okay, Jack Lee Intersolar apparently wants to thank me for my hard work by closing borders with me. I wonder if I get any points for... Okay, so this doesn't count as the crisis ships. And apparently we only have 100 years before the Zethorans win, so we need to get some kind of a crisis going on here, or I need to start making some big moves, because I think 100 years is going to go by a lot faster than I think it is. So I definitely want to clean up the Leviathans, and the next thing is I need to take out the Zethoran and the commune of Vislok. So I think for the reason that... Oh, Jesus. Vislok's really pulled ahead as far as tech. I think there is an argument for me to... I think there's an argument for me to go to war with the commune of Vislok first, if I can. Sorry about that. Your friend FaceTimed you, so... Oh, yeah, no worries about that. I will say I got my revenge on the Tempest. You can see... Oh, no, even the remains are gone now. And we actually didn't lose too many ships. So I'm planning the next phase here, which is... So the changes to the game are there's a hard end now of 2,500 if there isn't a crisis going on. So the Zethoran Confederation will win the game if I don't do something about that. They're in a federation with the commune of Vislok, who will be... So, like, if I cut the Zethorans down to size... they are the Vislok are just going to be waiting in the wings. So the plan that I have is as follows. No, they count as superior in fleet strength. Damn it. Oh, interesting. So that didn't used to be. That wasn't always the case. That Vislok was equivalent. Very interesting. Okay, so the Zethorans just declared rivalry, and yeah, so everybody now that we're not worried about a crisis, everybody's getting ready for the next war. So I've been waiting to do a rivalry on these guys anyway. That's not much of a loss. I've really invested a lot in the Biram defense. There is a side... Oh. I'm most tempted out of everything to just finally properly vassalize the Andiganj nation. So I think the way I'm going to handle that... step number one, we're going to repair the existing fleets, and we're going to rebuild the ships that they need. So that was 2 destroyers, I can't read my own writing anymore. 2 destroyers, I think that was a cruiser that I'm missing, and a corvette. Let me just double check that. So there's one of the destroyers. There's the cruiser. There's another destroyer. There's the corvette. Okay. Cruiser number 1. Ah! I knew this was going to bite me. So I'm looking for the Jal Lorton, it's either Lorton or Lorfun, and the Iris Torshka. And I believe it's the Trocutal class that I want for Corvettes. Yeah. I should probably just delete the AI ones at this point. But, so you say, even though you don't think you'd ever get that far, when we started the multiplayer game, you made sure that there wasn't an end date. Regardless, you're number 6 under the Fallen Empires. You don't know the current date in your game, but your fleet is about 15k, and almost everyone's fleet is inferior to yours due to your warlike culture. You've gone to war with basically everyone around you. So I think, I can't remember if you were in here when I talked about it, but there was a streamer. I actually don't know what happened to him. I have not heard from him from a while, but he was K5RTO. And he did a really good job of being able to turn everyone kind of against me. So I was definitely kind of a hyperpower, and for the majority of the game there was this coalition against me. And the only way that I was able really to deal with it was the fact that, like, I basically positioned myself in a certain way, sort of in front of the... Yeah. This is how they thank...
we will build a brighter future.
This is how they thank the savior of the universe. But yeah, basically, I made it look like I had this huge build-up on the border. Like, so for most of them, they were on the other side of the galaxy, and the person who is the member of the Federation, I had this huge build-up, and I said, one way or the other, you know, I may not win this war, but I'm absolutely taking you out first. But if you don't attack me, I have no interest in taking you out. And as this happened, basically, nation to nation, I kind of did the offer you can't refuse, which is like, yeah, you may be on this guy's side, but he is making a war that you guys will ultimately be fighting. So eventually I got the non-aggression pact or whatever set up. And apparently this guy did not realize that I had a wormhole which was about 3 sectors away from his capital. So when the war finally came, he had...
For lack of a better word, is good.
Thank you for the content that you produce. I like hearing you talk about stuff.
That's nice. Thank you very much for the... And yeah, that is a weird name to say out loud, but thank you very much for the donation. I'm sure you already got to hear me say that I'm unaccustomed to getting them, and that's certainly a very generous amount that you just gave me, so thank you very much for that. 2 donations in one night is extremely unexpected, and the words are even kinder. So again, thank you very much for that. I never want to take this stuff for granted, but it really does help me out quite a bit. And it's also nice to hear that my rambling is welcome. So it makes me feel bad that I won't do my usual cast on Wednesday, but I gotta meet a man who's good at price indices. But yeah, so the way that wound up going was like he's all ready to go. It's like this is going to be the time that he finally takes out System Shock, right? Like he's been waiting for this, and immediately there's the defections from his federation, and then all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, there's like 3 fleets of Titans that are just showing up and bombarding his world, and suddenly the voice chat goes very, very quiet. I felt a little bit bad about it, but not too bad. Okay, synth leaders equipped with a personality synthetics will finally be able to interact socially on equal terms with the rest of our citizens. Some units may even assume leadership roles. So this is a pretty big development for us. Again, I'm still going to pursue the I'm still going to pursue the advances, or like the low-hanging fruit first. I should consider some mega structures, but I kind of want to focus my alloys, seeing as I have spare capacity for my navy. I want to be focusing on constructing those ships first. But I am finally able to bring on synthetic evolution. So it is time to abandon the flawed organic vessels that imprison our minds. By transferring our neural patterns into synthetic bodies, we will achieve a higher state of being. So this will give plus 10% robot output, plus 1 robot modification point, minus 50% modify species special project cost, and we'll prepare a special project to transfer the minds of our citizens into synthetic bodies. And so we are now well and truly the dwarf robots. The time has finally come to discard the last remnants of the crude organic vessels that have imprisoned our minds since the conception of our species. After much trial and error, our scientists have devised a way to transfer a consciousness into a synthetic brain. All that remains now is to produce synthetic bodies for each and every citizen of the Akano High Kingdom and commence with the upload process en masse. Immortality is within our grasp.
Situation log updated.
So 101 months, it's a very costly upgrade, but I'll live with it. In the meantime, we should be getting some repairs in soon. And while we wait, basically while we do all of that, I'm going to be, we'll be clearing out the,
Establishing
all the different
means of
Leviathans.
production. Planetary worksite established.
Okay, this is always good news. So we'll give them houses, and we'll get them to build a bunch of energy, because until I can start building alloy manufactories and whatnot, this will give me the other thing that I need, which is money. So again, we have 100. Just a little under 100 years, actually, to make the most of our situation. And we're not necessarily in as strong of a position as we should be to capitalize on the L gate. So on 1 cruiser, 1 destroyer. No, the cruiser isn't ready yet. Once this playthrough is done, if you ever want to play multiplayer, I'd love to play with it. That's really cool, Shalakor. I'd love to. I will caution you, my experience has been that I'm a bit of a flake when it comes to playing online games with viewers. I actually really like playing with people, but streaming is one of several things that I do, and in practice, I've been very bad at getting a time that's good for people. So that is actually not a nice way of me saying no. That is more an idea of saying that I'm very interested in playing more Stellaris with people. The one condition is that you may have to ask me quite a few times before I finally crack and wind up playing a game. But yeah, if there's an opportunity that comes up, absolutely reach out. I'm available on Twitter, on Discord, on Twitch, whatever works for you. And while I am very bad at making commitments in terms of when it will actually happen, I am very much interested in playing more of this game with other people. Okay, so they want the Zelmadak system. I have no idea where that is. Interesting. So they're going straight for the L gate. Sounds like they're going to need some freedom. Do I have a Discord server? I do. It's not a very active one, but let me just take a minute here. Oh, sorry. I just got a sad message from someone. Let me just take a minute to get back in touch. Sorry guys, I just saw, while I was getting my Discord server, somebody sent me a quick message which made me feel a little bad for someone, so I just wanted to let them know I saw what they said, and I'll get back to them. Okay, where the hell is the share channel? Here we go. So yes, I do have a Discord server. It's really idle, but I'm always happy to have more bodies in there. Just because there's no conversations doesn't mean that you can't start your own. But I'm a really bad host for that. I may be very chatty on stream, but apparently I am not good at maintaining communities on all the other existing platforms. What can I say? This is a hobby. All right, the Artisan Troop. Esteemed High Queen Merg the First. A decade ago, the Akano High Kingdom pledged to support the Artisan Troop, and so you have. The time of your patronage is coming to an end, but we would be remiss not to ask. Would you care to renew your subscription to the finest arts and crafts in the galaxy? It's a deal. So I would love to upgrade all of my my bases again. Ooh, Lando definitely needs one. But the stronger urge for me right now is to make sure that I can't believe I didn't hit the unpause button. The stronger urge for me right now is to clear out the Leviathans. So we'll get ourselves back on track with our navy.
Construction finalized.
Of course they didn't go to the right one. All right. One cruiser out. Congratulations. All right. So there's a tricky call here. There's one side of me that wants to say, okay, we're just going to go take this big fleet and like gang up on all of the Leviathans all at once. I actually think I am going to do that. So what we'll do is we'll take out the Tianki Space Whale Ancient. We'll take out the Wraith. We'll take out the... Oh, that's something I can be doing with my energy credits. So basically, we're going to do the grand tour of all of the different Guardians first, and then I can split the fleet up into... I can split the fleet up and sort of deal with all of the other challenges. This one I seem to recall. Yeah, this is the enigmatic fortress. So this one we should probably save for last, just because I know this one gets a little tricky sometimes, or at least I don't remember exactly how it gets solved. So let's have a chat with our old friends, the curators, and see if we can get some intelligence. Tell us about the mysteries of the universe. All right, you joined the Discord. I know it's your server and all, but you ever thought of everyone on the server whenever you start a stream? I have occasionally done that. I am a little bit more reserved when it comes to the @everyone command. The one problem is that I tend to find that... So basically, I will do at the very least 3 casts a week, with the exception of this week where I'm taking Wednesday off to meet an old professor. Old as in advanced in years, as well as someone who I am not currently studying under. But he's a super smart guy. But the main reason I don't do the @everyone is my own experience of Discord servers have been when there's a fairly regular sort of ping of everyone, my tendency is to just mute that server. And so I do use the everyone, but I tend to use it for special events. Like there's a game that I played fairly early on in its alpha called Cultist Simulator. And they gave me this really nice opportunity to stream the game on their Steam page. And that was a time where it was literally hundreds of people. I think we might have even, or I don't think we broke 1,000. Anyways, like it's a much larger audience than I'm accustomed to streaming for normally. And so in that situation, I'll usually do something like an add everyone there, because that's a special event that people won't normally see. And then when it comes to regular casts, I just kind of figured that there's already the people can opt into notifications on Twitch, which, by the way, for those of you who don't know how to do that, right up in the top right-hand corner of the stream, I don't have the window in front of me right now. Let me just bring that up. But there's a little bell normally. And if you haven't clicked that already and you'd like to be notified every time I go live, that's a great way to be informed. So anyways, that's my really long answer as to why I personally don't use that. Again, it's not that I don't see a use inside of it, but it's one of these ones where I'd kind of like the add everyone to usually mean that there's something extraordinary that's happening rather than just a normal stream. But it's a good suggestion. I mean, if it's just something that only I think about, I may change my view on that. Like if people say, I would be attending the stream more if I knew that you were going live, and Discord is how I get informed about that, I may reconsider. All right, so let's start. Tell us about the Tiyanki matriarch. Magnificent is she not? A wizened old matriarch, her hide bleached and hardened by the eons, her tentacles capable of snapping the hulls of battleships like oyster shells. Decades ago, our researchers heard rumors of a captain sworn to hunt the matriarch to the ends of the galaxy. However, considering her continued existence, we cannot imagine that he met with success. Remind us why the matriarch is larger than the other Tiyanki. Oh, what's your major? I plan on going to college soon. Oh, that's a really cool one. So yeah, I've got one of these ones which aspires to be a science, but isn't as cool as all the hard sciences. My undergrad was honors economics. My master's was just economics. And I went to... It actually has two names now. So it was University of British Columbia, but I believe the economics department has been rebranded as the Vancouver School of Economics. I think that changed. I think it was UBC when I went to undergrad, and Vancouver School of Economics when I went to grad school. But basically, I'm an economist. That is both my training as well as my current job. So the guy I'm meeting... It's really weird to talk about this stuff because the guy I'm meeting genuinely is one of these world experts in the thing that he does, and as far as I'm concerned is famous, but it's by standards of economists famous. So his name is Erwin Dewart, and he's done these really important contributions to what's known as index number theory. So most people are familiar with things like the Consumer Price Index or CPI. It's the same thing. Or basically they're familiar with the concept of inflation, and you use price indexes or price indices depending on what you prefer. I think he says, I can't remember if he says indices or not. I usually say indices. But basically he's done a lot of work in that, and that was what I studied under him. So he's one of these guys. I'm working in the capital of Canada right now, Ottawa. And so because that's where the National Statistical Agency is housed, he comes to a conference called PMAC, which is entirely about this particular subject, and basically just tells everyone what they're doing wrong and how they can improve. He's nice about it, though. But yeah, basically... it's because I live here now, it's the one time a year that I get a chance to catch up with him. And we do get along reasonably well, as do, all of his follow-up students. He's actually taught some really impressive economists over the years. But that's my excuse for Wednesday. But yeah, it's nothing like zoology, unfortunately. Anyways, her incredible size is an anomaly, to be sure. We believe the matriarch is a wanderer from another galaxy in deep space, where a species of Tianki far greater in size and strength diverged evolutionarily from the Tianki found in our own. Of course, it is also possible that the matriarch is simply suffering from an advanced form of gigantism, though this would fail to explain her extended lifespan. Remind us about the captain hunting the matriarch. Very little. It is quite possible the captain chased the matriarch here from another galaxy, though why one would be foolish enough to challenge a creature capable of destroying entire fleets with just one vessel is beyond us. Almost certainly our fleet will do. Yours is a mighty fleet comparable to some of the greatest armadas in the recorded annals of the Curator Order. Victory is certainly within your reach. Wasn't done talking with you. Tell us how to defeat it. The matriarch is formidable, but not indestructible. While her armored hide protects her from a wide range of projectiles, she carries with her a remarkable weakness. There's a massive proton torpedo lodged in her back, a wound from a recent battle that is healed poorly. While seemingly defective, our scans of the torpedo suggest that it can be detonated if agitated with a specific energy pulse. We will transmit the details to you now. Okay, similar story with basically all the other things. So, Spectre's up next. I believe it's the... Oh no, it's the Wraith. Okay. Tell us about the Wraith. Spectral Wraiths are disturbing creatures. If they are creatures at all, we consider them a rare and extraordinarily efficient natural disaster. What do you know about these disasters? They appear to be illusions of light, but when you get close, it quickly grows apparent that they are far from illusory. Paradoxically, in that appearance lies the key to their defeat. Their relationship with the visible spectrum of light is their strength, but it diminishes when they approach a light source of a similar frequency. Pay close attention to the color of the Wraith. Red Wraiths, Class M. Oh, goddamn, I can't believe that I'm going to have to do this. I don't even think it says what kind of class star this is. You did this event before in a test play where you just gave yourself a bunch of stuff. If you want, you can tell what you get when you defeat it. Are you talking about the matriarch, or are you talking about the automated the fortress? Oops. I really wish it wouldn't close out the yellow wraiths. Okay. Again, I don't know the class of the star, unfortunately, so it doesn't... Or maybe just because it's a pulsar, it doesn't count for anything? Class G star. Yeah, okay, interesting. The big space cow. Okay, I haven't actually done it yet, Shalakor. I know I'm going to kill it one way or the other, so I appreciate the offer, but would you mind if I just had a chance for me to... a chance to see it myself? It's one of the few that I haven't actually seen to completion yet. Okay, cool. Thank you. Interesting. Yeah, so it looks like I'm basically just going to have to fight this thing head on. Okay, after that, we will go after the autonomous repurposer. Tell us about the scavenger. Ah, the scrap bot. The scavenger is a curious construct from a lost age. It endlessly searches amongst the debris fields of the galaxy, welding guns, engines, and materials scavenged from countless derelicts onto its own hull. Its mass and firepower have been increasing in such a fashion for centuries, with no sign of relenting. It is unknown if there is a limit to how massive it could build itself, given enough time and scrap to work with. who built it initially. Unfortunately, no definitive data regarding the scavenger's origin is known to exist. Some researchers believe it to be a malfunctioning scrap collection service machine from a lost empire, its purpose long since muddled by hardware degradation. Others believe it to have originated as a single microscopic nanorobot programmed by some unknown designer to endlessly build itself larger and stronger by exploiting its environment. Still others believe it to have been begun as a robotic ship captain, the sole survivor of an intergalactic battle waged millennia ago, its reasoning systems irrevocably damaged by the sudden and ultimate destruction of its entire civilization. Of course, this is all just speculation. Can we communicate with it? There have been many attempts at communicating with or altering the programming of the scavenger over the years. Unfortunately, most of these expeditions ended up as part of the cosmic scrapyards where the scavenger bot dwells. Those who were able to outrun it survived. It has welded enough heavy artillery onto its patchwork frame to single-handedly destroy an entire nation's fleet, an event that may have already occurred on more than one occasion. Of course, such destructive encounters would only have served to further strengthen the scavenger, providing it with more ship components to repurpose. Tell us how to defeat it. As you may have surmised, the scavenger was not built according to any definitive pre-existing schematics. As a result, some of its parts fit together less than optimally, leading to a discrete number of structural weaknesses. Of course, most of these are obscured from view to the uninitiated, but our advanced sensors have managed to isolate them. Tell your fleets to focus fire on these parts of the scavenger's hull, and it should substantially impact the amount of damage the construct is able to take before collapsing. And we will also grab the... Oh no, we've got... Okay, so we've got the 3. I think we'll leave it at that for now, otherwise we're going to be here all night. And I technically only have about 15 minutes left, so... Okay. We are... back to full strength, so... Time to start unlocking some of these... I think the way I'm going to do this just as a sanity check is I will unlock the areas that I know I have the details for. But first up, the matriarch. Oh my god, why are you like this? Okay, Howling Vortex first. Oh, did I? I'm an idiot. Thank you. Okay. That's not the shortest distance if I have to fight the thing to go through. The main reason I want to do this is so that I can fight the Tianki matriarch first rather than the Wraith. It kind of makes sense to take the Wraith out first, just because it'll probably be the harder fight, but I really want to... Nah, okay. We'll do it their way, I guess. I am, however, going to... So notice here that the... Oh, you know what? It actually doesn't matter. I will get them all to gather at Vite, but I'm not going to worry about the salvage showing. Actually, the salvage, if it's... Holy smokes! I need to get back to managing my economy. So the salvage is $6.99. There's got to be some like small groups that we can punch. Okay, we're not quite ready for the ether drake, I don't think. That space amoeba's too strong. Okay, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this, but if we lose it to the amoeba, we lose it. I could bring old Bluey, but that would be unkind to make the amoeba take out the other amoeba. Okay, looks like we're down on consumer goods. So I did say I was going to worry about my economy. So let's take a look. We need... Okay, this is a piece of cake. I just need to hammer out some more basic jobs. This one's a little harder to handle. Let's give you more administrative work, and we'll get you to build more alloys first. Oh, but that's specialized work. This urban world is... That's automatically assigned as an urban world, though. I am very tempted to just make this... we'll give him an energy grid first, but I'm thinking I'll probably do more alloys here. Where else are we? Right. I do still kind of want to keep a scientific edge, so my colony in a box pattern, I'll start with the labs. Paradaya has no shortage of things that it can accomplish, but maybe food processing? And old Alvania will do the usual, ship the guy off to Rurius. And then at some point I need to deal with the fact that we're short on consumer goods, but I'm a little less worried about that than any of my other priorities. Okay, now we're looking at Titan, 3 battleships, and we already have a few of these things. Okay, so we've got the 6 battleships. Oh, that's right, we also had the 2...
Construction finalized.
We're actually in better shape than I thought. Oh, cool. The Kvefi system just became open. Capability 29. An economist not worried about consumer goods. I'm on the guns side of the guns and butter equation. Capability 29. That would also be consistent with my research interests, actually. Or maybe I'm just engaging in consumption smoothing. We're engaging in debts now, knowing that we'll be in a better position to satisfy them in the future. Excuse me. Okay, where was I going with this? So let's take a look what's on its way to the terminal egress. It's 2 cruisers, and for the pattern we need 6 more. So get those built on Alvis too. And then I think it was 18 destroyers, so we'll get those built at the terminal egress. Okay, so we've got 5. I think Stellaris is finally overtaking Daggerfall for my the number of notes that I write to myself. So at some point I do want to take on the Andagoj Nation. There's also a reasonable argument for me wanting to peek at their design and see if there's any sort of weaknesses that I can exploit, but honestly I have kind of designed a bit of a general purpose fleet, so they do still count as inferior. So I think probably if I do want to start going on, if I do want to start going after the coalition, it probably makes as much sense for me to claim as many quote-unquote allies as I can. The Astani trade union, I'm assuming, is still pretty, yeah, they're still pretty weak, so I can't expect that much help from them. But at the very least, we'll have a few things that we can bring to bear. It is also kind of tempting to... It is kind of tempting to bring these guys into a federation. I'm assuming if I were to do something like just straight up declare war on the Zathorians, which would be a disaster. Oh, they would actually be okay with it. All right, that gives me something to think about. Again, taking on the Federation is a big decision. That's kind of like me sending in my weaker ships to take on the factory. That is something that can potentially have some really bad consequences.
Construction complete.
Okay, this is good news, but I don't really have that much
complete.
I can do with these fleets at the moment. At some point, we'll be able to sort of expand out to where I want to go. Oh, it looks like they cut off. I think I was going to try and take like Bitrun or something. Unfortunately, we actually have to earn our place here now. But of course, that just gives me another excuse to go to war with these guys. So it's going to be a little tricky. So my focus usually is on claiming the worlds. The thing is, they've actually kind of done a good job of rebuilding. So it's not going to be trivial to kind of claim all of these different worlds. All right, I am actually really curious about how this one's going to turn out. So I guess I could lend them a leader, but why lend them a leader when I can just buy a new one? All right, trial by fire, my friend. We'll go for the trickster.
Hostile reactionaries engaged. Construction finalized. Construction finalized.
Looks like somebody just declared rivalry on us.
Construction complete.
All right, that was fun being a bully. Get you to build the stations. We'll get you to build the next outpost. Again, it's a little bit of a race now. Okay, good. Sondrithian have declared them as a rival. Don't really care. Commune of Wisla. I thought they already were a rival. I mean, they really hate me for everything, so might as well. Oh, that's right. It's because I didn't have... I was like, that doesn't make any sense that I don't have... that this isn't building anything. And it's because I don't have the... I only had a... Sorry, I only built... Oh, wait, did I really build 5 destroyers? Okay, well, I need 13 more, so... And I always keep forgetting the name of the class that I need, so... Right. Okay, that's 10. 12. I swear to you, we will take out the Tianki matriarch if it kills me. Well, before I promise that, I should probably see how long it'll take. I'll do my best to take out the Tianki matriarch. Oh yeah, the Pennex system has a way of repairing things. Actually, what would be smart for me to do is move the construction ship to a place. Although I guess that won't really matter because we won't... Well, this system will have the ability to build in, but I think the science ship still needs to... What's going on here? Oh, okay, fair enough. I don't understand why it doesn't want to. Oh, I know why it doesn't want to. It's because it thinks there's stuff that's going to eat it. It's Old Albania. Just want to make sure the capital shipyards are doing what they need to. Still 500 days from a new Titan. Oh, this is a big one. Basically, the way I've been handling colonization is whenever I finish terraforming, we move on to the next one. I'm also going to need to start making some decisions about what I'm going to do with all this extra influence, because I was in a big expansion mode, but it's clear that I'm not going to be able to... It's clear I'm not going to be able to dump the influence as quickly as I build it. Alright. There is a question as to whether or not I'm going to need as much unity as I've been prepping for. We'll give them 2 more... I mean, this thing I want to crank out as many generator districts as I can. Oh, shame on me for... Zura needs... research. So we are kind of getting to the end of the usefulness of Unity, although I know they changed the game a while ago. We'll just add a couple more generators. I think it'll be the same story for everyone. If I can, we'll try and push up research as much as I can. Sorry, what was I trying to say? Oh, Tybor, we pretty much always... I mean, there might be an argument for another crystal.
Oppressors have declared war against us.
Oh, okay. Wow. I always thought I was going to be the one to start that off. I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but we are going to start. We're going to start the proper fight next stream. I am unfortunately, because I've been nursing this headache, I know any decisions I make are going to be okay. This is going to be expensive, but let's try and get the sweet stuff. So for Stellaris, I will be so my normal streaming days are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I usually start somewhere between 7 and 8 Eastern time. I know that's a really wide window, but that's usually just because like I want to make sure that I make dinner and stuff like that. And that'll usually a good like 7:30. Like the mean is about 7:30. I'm trying to get a little bit better at being a bit sharper on getting there on time. But yeah, so Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are the normal streaming days. I do vodcasts. So if you're following the channel now, so if you get alerts for me going live, I do a pre-recorded broadcast on Thursdays. It's normally been the Elder Scrolls. So we started with the very first Elder Scrolls game. I've not played any of them for any substantial amount of time. So I've been playing a Dark Elf, so...
It usually entails a voice like this for about 3 hours.
And I've been struggling through Daggerfall, which is the second one. So in that case, if I'm non-responsive, it's not because I'm not reading chat, it's because it's a pre-recorded video, and I try and put like vodcast in the title and stuff like that, but I notice a lot of people still think that it's a live cast, and I've not had a lot of success in being able to convince people otherwise on it. And then Friday is kind of more of a free day, so we've been doing a lot of Darkest Dungeon lately, but I've done everything from Night Team 4, which is kind of a military hacking sim, to, you know, we did System Crash. That was actually Thursday, but basically a lot of little kind of targets of opportunity if I can. But as far as strategy is concerned, the Paradox games basically have their dedicated day of Monday. When I can, I try to do extra casts where I can, but that's usually like a big new release. So like when Imperator came out, I sort of played that for a week straight. Age of Wonders, Planetfall, similar story, and I have every intention of getting back to them, but usually like the big new release is the time when I start doing like extra casts and things like that. But yeah, I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but I know I'll probably play around a little bit with the... Actually, you know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll at least get the claims sorted out, and then we can properly call it. So what I really want to focus on here is... Oh yeah, the Kabji wormhole is going to be... That's going to be the thing that hurts me the most. So if I can carve out, like honestly, if I can carve out the gateways and the wormholes, that's the best. I just don't think I have the influence to manage it. So let's say if I wanted to take Majek, you're just kind of doing a little shopping list here. That's like half. See, the thing is, I need a pretty decisive victory to take all that. But even a settled status quo... Yeah, that's the thing, actually. A settled status quo will still give me all of this. It's definitely a greedy run, but it's not impossible. I think it's pretty... I mean, the sweetest thing would be to grab the megastructure. But so yeah, I mean, it might have been better for me to do humiliate, but in this case we'll go for straight up conquer. We will... So the plan here is it's less about me actually claiming all of those systems. It's more about fighting them to a point where they... it's more about fighting them to a point where they're not going... Or where I'm able to sort of turn around and say, you know, we fought to a standstill, peace out status quo, and I'm essentially able to turn that into some like meaningful gains. So let's just think a little bit about how long it's going to take me to get to different locations. So this is 1100 days. That's simply too long. The Vaji Maelstrom, that's 387 days. That's still a long wait, but it's a hell of a lot better than 1100 days. And in the worst case scenario, if they show up in Kabji, I could be there the fastest. Okay. So we're gonna come racing through the Vaji Maelstrom. I want to lock down as many systems as I can, and I think we'll just try and eat them from within. And I have a feeling we are going to be spending a lot of money on some replacement ships. But we've already got our 4th Titan on the way. So the Zathorians were definitely the ones we wanted to be worried about, or we were worried about in terms of fleet power, but hopefully I'm going to be able to sort of bully the AI a little bit with my human smarts. And we'll see how that all turns out next week. Thank you again, guys. Like I said, I really try and get myself to a point where it doesn't matter. I have to be like actually sick to not stream, but definitely this is one of the ones where I was like, maybe I should just take a day to myself. And I'm really glad, and this actually isn't the first time something like this has happened. I'm really glad I didn't do that because intentionally or not, you guys may have just been your usual wonderful selves. You really made it a special cast tonight. I try not to be too, self-pitying on this sort of stuff. But I haven't been feeling 100% great about the cast for the past month or so. And it seems like every once in a while when I'm feeling that way, a really nice cast like this comes through, people like Shalakor and, and Nutslice with the donations, obviously. But also just in terms of the follows, the support, the conversations going on inside. I apologize, Shalakor, for not taking on the Tianki matriarch, but clearly other events happened. And I'm really looking forward to coming back and playing the rest of this this session. We'll see whether or not I'm able to claw my way up that ladder, or maybe the fallen empires will wake up and we have a much greater worry. Anyways, I am sort of done babbling on for a bit. I think there is a streamer who's one of my favorites on right now, and if he is all right, guys. Johnny Big Time, who I'm gonna do his special command. We all just start to feel bad and are like, dang, we got to support our boy. You'll definitely watch out when you start stream, though. That's wonderful, Shalakor. And again, there should be a notification button. If you use it at all on Twitch, in the top right-hand corner, you can get a notification when I go online. I'll try and be a little bit... I usually go on Twitter when I say that I'm going to be going live. But again, between 7 and 8 on weekdays... Or sorry, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, not weekdays. I don't have the energy to do every weekday. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday between 7 and 8, I try to lean as close towards 7 as I can. Clearly, you have better things to do than memorize when I'm going online, so I will try and at least write stuff in terms of Discord. I maybe won't use the everything command, but I will write it. And then, of course, at System Chalk on Twitter if you happen to use that, although, of course, I talk about all sorts of nonsense on Twitter as well, so I wouldn't blame anyone for not following me. But I am missing I just made sure to turn it on. Is my Twitter System Chalk as well? Yep, you got that exactly right, Shalakor. So at System Chalk. Again, I mix personal and quote-unquote business, i.e. streaming stuff. So if I, come off as some... It's weird. To some people, I'm like some just liberal pansy who, is annoying. And to some people, I'm some conservative monster who, just wants to burn the world. So I try not to be too awful on Twitter, but I definitely have gotten in the past month a few people giving me very clear reasons why they are no longer following me, as opposed to just hitting the unfollow button. So I appreciate that may be a particularly costly way to be informed about what I'm doing. But without further ado, I am going to host the legendary Johnny Big Time. He is really fun to watch. He's got a great attitude, very charismatic. My favorite broadcast that I've done this year has been A Way Out, and I co-cast with Johnny. And he's currently playing Days Gone. So I don't own a PlayStation. I'll never get a chance to play this myself. But Johnny, in addition to riding a motorbike, and he's actually a chef. So apparently someday he's going to do cooking streams, and I'm finally going to learn how to actually make something other than like a pasta dish. But Johnny's a great guy, different style from me, but better style than me, I think. I have a ton of fun watching him, and I know a few of you, this will be the first chance that you get to see him. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to host him. Please treat him well. I will see you all Friday, unless you stop by tomorrow, where we make some substantial progress in Daggerfall, and I will warn you, I complain a lot during that recording. But we're getting near the end, so for those of you who've enjoyed the Elder Scrolls stuff, that's tomorrow. I'll try and be in chat, but I do have a couple of other things that I need to work on. And without further ado, I bring you Johnny Big Time.